From the digiMAX studios in Metamora, Illinois, it's time for the Danny Grieves Show. Here's Metamora Redbird head basketball coach Danny Grieves and host Scott Kerker.
Hello, Coach. Well, first off, Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Merry, happy.
Yep. Coach, you've come off a busy week and a half. You had 3 games, Canton, Pekin, and Limestone. We'll start off with your first game against Canton, who came to Metamora about a week and a half ago.
Right.
A little bit down. Very well coached. Coach Rhodes does a wonderful job with them.
Does.
They're just a little down right now.
And we knew that pressure would bother them, and we really turned up the heat on them because they still have shooters and guys that can make plays if you just back off them a little bit. But they're young and inexperienced, and that didn't go their way.
Pretty big win, 77-27. But the thing I thought, when you play teams like this, it's not really your job to worry about whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, but your kids took care of business,
right?
And that's the main thing.
When you play a team that's down, you don't want to play down to their level.
No,
and our kids did not.
Yeah, and that's the part that I'm very impressed with. Your kids go out and they play with that same intensity every game,
right,
whether the other team's really good, bad, or whatever. I thought there were some things in that game you did very, very well.
Like what? From your perspective,
I thought that your intensity, your defensive intensity, you guys attacked the basket. I think that's one thing Metamora does really, really well. I've noticed it over the years, but I thought this year your kids attacked the basket as well as any team you've had at Metamora.
It's kind of nice to have 5 guys that can attack the basket, but also can knock down the 3. So now they can't help as often. Their help is limited.
Right.
And I think that's really been able to get us some open looks to the hoop that in times past we did not. Especially Mid-Illini teams. You're talking about the Mid-Illini with Canton and Pekin and Limestone, those 3 games. They know what you're going to do. I mean, so there's no secrets in the Mid-Illini. And they usually do a pretty good job of defending. But now they can't cheat. You don't have that guy that can't make a 3, so that defender used to sit in the paint and help the whole night. And that's really helped our overall play.
There's 2 other things that I think you have I don't want to say an advantage, but the thing that I think you guys really do really, really well is when a shot goes up and it's an outside shot, your outside defenders just take off down the floor because they know that whoever gets the rebound, by and large, they can bring the ball up themselves, run the fast break themselves. Yeah. They don't have to get an outlet. They do sometimes. Right. They don't have to get an outlet to get the ball down the floor.
Well, we turn and go, whether it be off the dribble or the pass. Obviously, it's quicker to get it down there with the pass, but sometimes it's not available. So it's nice to have everybody that can take and grip and rip the rebound and, go with it more than just 1 or 2 dribbles. We've always had guys that could, you go past that, it's just a matter of time before they turn it over.
Right.
We don't have that anymore.
No, you have a 6'8" kid in Luke Hopp that gets the rebound at times and just turns and runs down, leads the fast break, and by and large does a really nice job.
Has good handles. His timing is impeccable at times. He does a really good job of getting it to where it's supposed to be, and that's a great weapon to have.
Sure.
And if you don't guard him, he'll just pull up and hit the 3. Not many kids can do that.
No, not at all. The other thing I think that your kids do really, really well is, on defense, if you do, it doesn't look like you guys particularly want to switch, but when you do, it doesn't matter because Tyler Mason, who's your smallest starter, right, smallest player that you play consistently, he can switch and play against any one of the other teams. Now, you're going to maybe run into a team that has a 6'9" or 6'10" player where you're going to try not to have those mismatches. But by and large, everybody's interchangeable.
Well, for instance, when we play a team like a Washington, we can switch everything.
Yeah.
And, at times, even when we have a little bit of a mismatch with Mason, he's pretty strong and he's so active that a lot of times they don't get anything out of it.
No.
So he's a very good defender, even on the post.
Yeah. That's been the thing that I've noticed really, it stands out to me this year is how interchangeable you kind of are with all of your players. And like I said, I know there's going to be times when you're not going to be able to do that because you're going to
Right.
be playing against somebody that has some really big guys.
Well, there's certain, not only big guys, but good shooters.
Right.
You know, and you want to make sure that you don't lose those. And so, you know, we can do quite a few different things. We can switch or not, or we can tag them, or we can, there's multiple things that we can do. And, you know, our kids are well drilled on most of them. So it all just depends on who we're playing, what personnel we have.
Getting back to Canton a little bit, you know, you went out, you took care of business, you came
Yeah.
away with a big win in that game. That was on a Tuesday night. You come back Friday, and you play Pekin at Pekin. Glad to get that game out of the way early. They're
Well,
tough to play there.
They're tough to play there, and they had probably their biggest crowd of the year.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? It was good to see, and it's good to play in a big old gym like that. We'll do that again for Christmas holidays. But you know, sometimes we haven't shot well over there, and or played well. But I thought our kids did a good job of going over there and taking care of their business.
Yeah, you beat them 60-44, 16-point win. That might be the biggest margin of victory we've had over there.
It could be. I haven't really looked, but it sounds like it could be true.
Yeah. Anytime you come away with a 1 or 2 point win over there, I'm happy.
Right.
Just they got good popcorn. But
I've heard that.
but still, like to get out of there. It's always nice to stop by Jimbo's Jumbo to get something to eat before the
Right.
game. Good place. But yeah, getting out of Pekin with a win, any kind of win, is big.
You know, it's one of those games where they grind through it, and if you play their style, you better be better at it than they are. But they play it all the time, so it's probably not going to happen.
Right.
And so we did a nice job of kind of willing our attitude on offense and defense on them, and they couldn't stay with us.
Right.
Once we got the lead and got going, I think our kids did a really good job of taking care of the ball, hitting the open man, doing little things that make big things happen, and finding a way to win on a tough road game.
I thought your kids did a really nice job of taking care of the basketball. There were times where you guys had some big runs, but you just couldn't separate yourself in a large way.
Right. That's what they do at Pekin.
Yeah, and you know, it was at times probably a little frustrating, but on the other hand, you also didn't let them really get back into the game either.
No.
So that was nice. I thought defensively you guys played pretty well.
Well, we've worked on it. You know, and it was kind of nice to go up against their matchup zone because we don't see that much.
Right.
And, you know, we want to see it now and a little bit as we go along, and because sometimes you'll see it right at the end. If you're not used to it, you'll be in trouble. So they do it fairly well, and eventually we pulled them out to go man, and they couldn't guard us.
I believe their leading scorer is Jurgens. I think he was averaging about 14 or 15 points a game. I think he held him to 12, and he got 4 of those in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game.
And he's a high volume shooter. You know, you take one of our guys and put him on that team with a high volume shooting, they'd average more than that, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
But he is a nice player.
He is a very nice player, pretty creative, getting his own shot. And,
Right. Can create his own,
yes.
knock down the three, go to the rim pretty good, pretty physical when he has to be.
Yep. And I thought defensively you guys did a nice job because about halfway through the quarter, I think Colton asked me, he said, you know, we really haven't heard much from Jurgens, their
Right.
leading scorer. And I think at that point he had about 6 points. And I think that was the big thing. You took their main guy away, made the other guys beat you, and they really weren't ready for that.
We really worked hard making that happen. And Coach Dame had it set up to, you know, here's how we're going to do it. And he's got great schemes, and our kids, you know, you can have a great scheme, but it's, you know, here it is. What are you going to do with it? And our kids did a nice job on him.
Yeah.
Because he can really, you know, and I think he was like 93% from the line, hardly ever missed. There's times where he gets double-digit free throws, and, you know, he gets rolling on that stuff. It's hard to stop a kid like that, especially at their home court. So I was glad to see him not get off and have the game that they needed for them to win.
I believe it was in that game, too. One of your leaders, Drew Tucker, drove to the basket, ended up getting called for a charge. Took kind of a nasty spill.
Yeah.
You
Came
pulled
up
him
limping.
Came up limping, a little bit dinged. Saw
He
that
was,
a lot.
he was more
actually.
ticked off than anything.
And that was a good sign.
Yeah.
And a little bit worried at halftime whether or not he was going to be really seriously injured, but he came out and played the second half, was fine.
He's strong as steel.
Yeah, he's awfully good.
His motor runs. I love that of him.
Yeah, it's you've got that good combination. You got guys that are kind of, finesse, and then you've got guys that are just, man, it's pedal to the metal, and they go out, and Drew Tucker's that guy for you.
He's that guy.
And he plays a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, which I love.
Yeah, I do too.
And he doesn't take anything from anybody. As soon as it gets a little bit chippy, Drew Tucker's in there to kind of even things out.
Right.
And that's really good to see. And the other guy that does that really well for you too is Tyler Mason, I think. And luckily, both of those guys are your point guards. So.
And they can play a little bit.
Yeah, they can play a little bit. You finished up this little trifecta with a game then last Tuesday night at home against Limestone.
Right.
Limestone, kind of I guess you could say somewhat of a rebuilding. They brought in Willie Coleman from Manual.
Right.
And it's a little bit of a transition right now, getting used to his style of basketball.
It's tough to run manual stuff when you're from Limestone. Mm-hmm. And the first year I told him it's going to be really tough. But, second year is so much easier, and the third is even easier than that. So.
And they've got some players, but you took them also away from things they were comfortable doing.
Eventually. First quarter we did not. They had straight line baskets to the rim 7 times for 14 points. It puts us down 14-12 at the quarter.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we woke up.
Yeah. Yep. You woke up. And we talked about it in the pregame that teams like that are teams that when you're not real good, maybe you're good, but not real good.
Right.
A team like Limestone can step up and maybe bite you here and there.
Could be a Limestone, could be a Canton, could be a whoever.
Yeah, there's a number of teams.
Line on any given night, you better bring it.
But your kids are good. They know how to win. They know what it takes. Eventually, you knew they were going to turn it on, and they did.
I still believe that winning and losing is a learned trait.
Oh.
All right, and that's why we always try to succeed and win when we get the chance.
Yes.
And there's times that how many times that we've been behind over the 12 years I've been here. You're doing the game. You're going. You know what? We're still going to come back. Mm-hmm. And you really believe that, didn't you?
Oh, every single time.
And our kids believe that too. And that's why it's really important for us to have success. Throughout our freshman, sophomore, and varsity program. And I think we've been able to do that. And it's really helped us on the varsity level.
Even in games we've lost, and I think you've got 94 losses in your 12 years at Metamora, something like that.
I'm not sure.
Something like that. I think even in all of those losses, up until the final whistle, I always believed we're going to come back and win this.
There hasn't been too many blowouts.
No.
I remember one at Pekin.
Right before Christmas.
I pulled the starters they didn't even play the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I remember.
I made them sit there and watch.
I think Nate Cannell was a junior.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
I made him sit and watch.
Yes.
And that was tougher than being out there playing.
Oh yeah. But it sent a message.
And we actually got closer.
Yeah.
With the guys that were out there.
Yep.
Lesson learned, though.
Lesson learned. And sometimes, a loss is okay if you learn something from it.
Right.
Hate them.
Right.
But sometimes, by losing a game, you learn how to take care of business and then win.
We learned last year at the Washington loss.
I knew that was coming.
And that was the last one we really lost until
the championship.
The championship.
So
we figured it out. And it took our rival to embarrass us like that, and to get it right. What it will take this year, I'm not sure, because we're not even close to being ready like we're supposed to be.
No, but
we've had some success so far with just sheer talent.
Right, and that will to win and that
right.
learning trait of winning,
but
that will come.
If we would have, right, but if we would have been a little bit more together, we wouldn't have lost those 2 games. Winter Haven wouldn't have beat us when we were up. We should have taken care of business. Same thing with Joliet West. But until we get better at what we're going to do collectively and really think as one, because, and I know I hope we get there, but as I talk to our kids at practice and, in the locker room, we're not there, and they know that. Our best days are ahead if they'll get it right.
And they will.
I think this trip to Mississippi will help us.
It's going to be huge.
Anytime you spend 14 hours
in
one vehicle with your teammates, we'll either be singing Kumbaya or fist fighting by the time we get down there. I'm not sure which.
Kumbaya or fist fight. Wow, that's But You go back and you look at college teams and high school teams that go on big trips.
Yeah.
They always seem to have a way of bringing teams together.
You got to work out your differences.
Yeah,
Because you don't get to go home, you don't get to go to class, you don't get to go hang out with your girl. You're there for 6 days.
Yeah, your teammate is your family for those 6 days or 5 days, whatever it is, and that brought that team together with Nate Canal and
There's
Dallas
no doubt.
Morning. That was a huge trip for those
Yes.
kids. They were good. They were a very similar team. to
Jordan
this team.
Dame, Michael Adams,
Yes.
Dallas, Nate, all those guys, Noah Persich. It was fun to watch those guys go down there and grow up a little bit, and I'm hoping this will do that for this team too.
Yeah, because as far as the rest of the Middle is concerned, that's not going to be a very welcome thing because they think you guys are pretty polished right now.
Right.
But you're right. There's a lot of room for growth.
Yeah.
And I always tell everybody, all that matters right now is winning. A 1 point or 21 point or 31 point, it doesn't matter. A win is a win.
You've got to find a way.
And that's what
Because
this
that's
team
why
is
we're truly in it, to be successful. Now, if we were playing the Chicago Bulls, success wouldn't be a win. It'd just be, hopefully you didn't get slammed by, 50.
right.
So, there's different concepts on when you talk about succeeding. But, when we talk about succeeding, I expect to win every game. And I think our kids understand that. We're going to prepare to try to do that. When we fall short, it's a learning experience and we move on, but that is always where we're headed.
Sure.
There's no doubt that we're trying to be as successful as we can. And, hopefully it'll carry over to their classroom and to their house and to their, college career and whatever they might be doing,
Sure. When you look at your team right now and you look at the chemistry,
Yeah.
do you think they're ahead of last year at this time?
No.
Not ahead of last year. Well, last year you had a standout as far as your leadership goes. You're probably still trying to find that guy this year.
It's by committee. And it's, certain guys are, rising to the top like Cream usually does. And, it's a slow process, but, and it's a learning process. And, these guys will get it. I know they will. They just haven't got it yet.
And that's you probably don't want that yet. We've talked about this before. You don't want the peak to be now. You want it to
Well,
be.
just because you got it doesn't mean you're going to peak.
No.
All right. And so, but I do believe this: if once we do get it, those kids got a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty good anyway.
Sure.
But they're still young kids, and sometimes they think they know more than they do. So the great thing is we've got a great staff that keeps reminding them, hey, this is the path we're trying to go down, and this is how we're trying to do it. And kids will be kids, though, and especially when you got so many Type A kids. I mean, take a look at our, we got strong kids, mentally, physically, competitively. They want to win, they want to succeed, and they want to be the best.
For sure.
And, with that comes sacrifice, and so, we're still tiptoeing through it. But I'll tell you what, we're getting there. And when we put those minutes together, oh my goodness, we're pretty fun to watch.
And we've seen glimpses of that.
Yeah.
Over at Washington.
And they feel that, and they know that that's how we've got to get all the time. And so, but bottom line is we got great kids. We really do. I checked their grades the other day as the semester ends, and we got over half of them straight A's. Most of them all ABs. We got a few C's here and, no D's, which is really nice.
Right.
So it's not just about the winning on the court. It's about winning in the classroom and winning wherever we're doing. So, but I tell you, we got a chance to be pretty special once we get it right.
When you look at your team, and you talked about last year about how part of the reason of the success were the seniors who weren't playing and how dedicated they were to win. And every day in practice, even though they weren't going to get a lot of playing time, they came every day to practice and worked hard, ran the other team's offense and defense almost better than what the other team did.
True.
And do you see that in some of your seniors this year?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I do know this. Our younger kids, like Kendrick and some of those sophomores that run the scout team every day, is really a tremendous help. So it's not just the 6 or 7 or 8 guys that have gotten most of the time. It's truly about the whole system and the whole team, because without those guys, You've seen some practices. I mean, they're pretty competitive.
Some of those are some of the. I mean, I've sat in, and sometimes
And they're live.
yeah, and you go over every single situation imaginable. I'm thinking to myself, this will never come up, and 2 weeks later, I'm thinking, hey, that's the same situation I saw in that practice.
We handled it because we went over it.
Nobody panicked.
Right.
You just ran it like it was another play.
Yeah.
You know, and over the years, you've seen. You know, the thing that I love is it doesn't matter if it's the star player, or the sixth player, the seventh player off the bench. I've seen some guys that were six players win a game over in Morton. I saw a kid that was seventh or eighth player off the bench that win a game up in Hyde Park.
Right.
You know, it just didn't matter. It was just who was there to make the play.
Right.
And I think that's part of the success is
Daryl Galandri against Pekin. What was that? 10 years ago?
10 years ago, and he hits and nails one in the corner.
How great was that?
That was tremendous.
Yes.
His dad, the scorekeeper,
Right.
Probably the only time in his 30 or 25 years that he's been the scorekeeper actually showed a little bit of emotion.
Daryl did that night.
Yes, he did.
That was fun.
And well deserved.
And you think about the moments we've had in our gym, you know, we're pretty tough at home.
Very, very tough at home. You know, that's another thing that I think we're going to have Colton look up. What our winning percentage is the last 10 years at home.
It's pretty good.
It's got to be, it's got to be amazing, really, when you think about it. Our winning percentage there has been outstanding, and because we've taken care of our home turf.
Right.
And that's what you've got to do.
But think about the atmosphere, how it's changed from day one that I was here from now.
Oh.
Where we used to sit on the other side and the other team's people were behind us.
Yeah, now you got your student section behind you.
Right.
You got good student sections.
Yes, we do.
A little bit bigger gym might have a little bigger student section. A little plug there. But
Yeah.
anyway, you know, it is. Going to a Metamore basketball game is a lot different today than it was 10,
The
12 years.
cheerleaders, the dance team, I mean, it's an event.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fun. It's a good night out to get entertained.
Coach, and you probably don't know this, but Neil Hagan told us that, like, just the Morton game alone, we had around 1,700 people watching it online live.
Nice.
And I think he said we had 4 countries.
That's pretty cool.
Because, you know, some of those are, you've got kids in the military that are
Right.
stationed in wherever.
Right.
But, you know, that's the neat thing about it is you got a packed house and you got a lot of people watching at
pretty
home.
cool.
So, yeah, has made Metamore basketball.
I've
pretty
got
special.
family all over the country and they all watch.
Yeah. Well, Coach, why don't we take a time out and we'll come back with the Germantown Grill players of the game for the past 3 games.
Sounds good.
Central Illinois, you asked for it and we listened. Germantown Grill is growing, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. The game's on at Germantown Grill off Route 116.
Welcome back to the Danny Grieves Show. Coach, we'll do them one game at a time, but we'll start with the Canton game. The player of the game was Tyler Mason. It was Tyson Swanson. My bad. I got a little ahead of myself. Tyson Swanson, outstanding. You know, he's become almost automatic. That little 10-foot jump shot on in has become almost automatic. You know, you haven't had to lean on him as much this year to score because of the emergence of Mason and some of your other guys, but he's still been there. He's been an outstanding player for you.
Especially against zones. But you get him man-to-man, one-on-one down low. I don't know if anybody that he can't score on.
Oh, without question. He's a terrible matchup if you're the other team. He's only 6'3" or so, but he plays like a guy that's 6'6", 6'7".
He's a 3-year starter. But I will tell you this about him. You know, the other night he only got 2 shots. You know, for a guy that's been our leading scorer for a year and a half now, and didn't complain a bit. And, you know, those are the kind of guys you need on a program because we had other guys light it up that night. You know, we need to get him more involved every game. But, you know, when it's all on the line, whether it be Mid-Illini or regional, wherever it's at, you know, you watch, he'll put us on his back again like he did before. That's the kind of player he is.
Yeah, I agree. And I apologize for saying it was Tyler Mason when I knew it was Tyson Swanson. But he he has been so consistent for you in the last 3 years, and you know, all through last year, he put your team on his back, carried
sure
you
did.
at times, and he's done it a few games this year, and there will be more
When
times.
you can
I'm
score
sure.
11 points in a row on a championship game, that's pretty cool. Like it was nothing. Like it was nobody's business.
Yeah. It's and he can do it in such a variety of different ways, inside, outside. You know, and if you need him to bring the ball up the court, he's more than able to do that.
Saw a nice tweet from the Chicago writers this week, and they were talking about him going, if and when we go, it will be on his back. So it's no secret that he can play.
Yeah, he's a very special player.
Yeah, he is.
And you know, over the years, you see him out, hey, nice game, Tyson, and he'll nod. And I'm not sure if I've ever really heard him say much.
Very shy, but very humble on his abilities, but quite the philosopher. He's got plenty of opinions.
And that's okay. As long as he can score and play defense, he can think and have all the opinions he wants. We'll move on to the next game, which was against Pekin. That was Tyler Mason. Tyler Mason has slowly emerged as one of your leaders on your team.
Yes.
Jim Matson said the other night that every time he sees him, he gets better, and he might be right.
And every time he sees him, he's got more energy. And he's, you know, the thing is, offensively, he's been amazing, but he's probably been our best defender. I mean, it's not like he's taken a snooze on the other side of the ball because he's scoring so many points. Mm-hmm. You know, his motor runs, and he's been flying around, and he's in great shape. You know, and that's a key. You know, last year he was hurt so often. I don't think that he got enough time to have everybody know how good he was. Mm-hmm. And you know, I told everybody that I said at times I thought he was probably our best player from June, July, and on this year in the summer, and it's carried over to this year. So he hasn't surprised me at all. I expect that out of him at this point.
Yeah, he's been very good, and you know, a big reason why you were able to make the big run at the end of last year, but a pretty good reason why you've gotten off to such a good start this year too.
No doubt.
Very, very good player, and very good game again against Pekin. And then the final game you played against Limestone, and probably a little bit of a reason why that Ethan Kaiser had such a good game. His brothers went to Limestone.
Sure did.
He's the only Kaiser.
He grew up that.
He grew up there. Yep,
Sure did.
yep. And the only Kaiser not to go at least one day of school at Limestone High School.
Right.
But he came to Metamora, and just an outstanding game.
Yes.
Player of the game again in this game.
Defensively, offensively, I thought he did a nice job. And he's taken over a little bit more. He's trying to show a little bit more leadership and being more vocal out there, trying to keep us organized.
You know, the thing that I liked a little bit about him is you know, he's found a spot, and it's on a wing on the left side of the floor where he likes to shoot the three. I did notice that this game in particular that there were times where he missed a couple shots, found another spot, hit a couple threes, and then also faked the shot, either moved over or drove to the basket.
Right.
He made some nice passes too.
Well, from now on and probably the rest of the year, the closeout on him so hard that, you know, he's got a shot fake and step back, or, you know, go to the rim or stop and pop. And when he does that, you know, and we do it all the time in practice, he's a really good shooter.
Yeah.
When he's wide open, whether it be just a catch and shoot or have to create and get rid of a guy that's closing out too hard on him, you let him get settled up and go up for a shot, he's pretty good. He's over 50%.
Yeah, he's pretty consistent. The thing that I've noticed this year too, defensively, man, if they make a steal out front and they go down for a layup, Kaiser will run from that low block or wherever he's at on defense. And how many blocks has he had where he's swatted the ball away where they thought they had an easy layup?
Right.
That's been huge.
And it's not just him doing that either. Now
No.
we've got, you know, Drew's doing it.
Yes.
Swanson's doing it. It's kind of nice to have.
Yes,
Even
they
Big Luke Hop's doing it.
yeah, big, yeah, and it kind of catches on. It's a little
Yes. contagious.
It's one thing that's really good to have.
Now, if we could add those with taking more charges, our
Yeah.
defense would really amp up.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I was going to mention, and I'm glad you brought it up. We haven't taken as many charges this year. I think it's because we've been blocking the shots a little bit more, but maybe we just haven't been looking for
How many
anything.
less are we taking? we were at Pekin the other night, where Kaiser Quick took 4 the year before.
Yes.
Up to that game right there, we'd only had 3 for the season. If you put it in perspective.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't realize we'd taken that few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we've done a better job since then, and they get it wrong almost every time. And I tell them, I said, well, I'm going to have the film of that one if you want to see it. And sure enough, time after time after time, we're there, we're set, and we get run over, and it's a block.
Right.
So, hopefully they'll get better at it. But I think, we still need to continue to try that.
Right.
Because that's a weapon. And we've had some tremendous turnarounds in games, especially, at the end of seasons and in the latter part of quarters, where it's a game changer. So that's still going to be part of our arsenal.
So you're done with your first half of the season. Now you're off to Mississippi to play in a big tournament down in Mississippi in Gulfport, your old stomping grounds.
Right.
You're going to be playing against some very athletic, good basketball teams.
Right. First game is Madison Central, which is up around Jackson. They don't have the greatest record, but they got young guys. And they're playing perennial powers in Mississippi, like Jackson Lanier, and teams that they're just barely getting beat by them. But they've got enough potential and the right keys to put together by the end of the season. They'll be pretty good. How good they're going to be when we get down there, they're still pretty good. We've got about 4 films on them and shot charted them all, and man, the guys can really play. The second round would be against Pascagoula or Meridian, which are both really pretty good. They got a number. They're both rated in the state in their collective classes, so they're pretty good players and teams.
So do any of Madison or the teams you could play in the second round? Who do they compare with that we've already played? Anybody?
Pascagoula and Meridian would be like a good Springfield Lanford team.
Okay.
Which is going to press you once you get off the bus, and so that's their styles. Madison Central not quite like that, but it would be more like probably not a Joliet West because they got too good of guards, but they've got some good players.
Possibly like maybe a Booker T.
Not even as good as Booker T. Booker T's pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're going to win the state championship in 7A. Sure. This team is not in Mississippi, but they'll be a tough team to beat down the road.
Great competition for you, though.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You went down to the State Farm Classic last year, went 2-2, played some outstanding. I think every team you played last year won a regional.
Yeah.
From that tournament last year.
True.
And I think a couple of them won sectionals.
Yeah.
I think Wheaton Warrensville won
in East St. Louis.
In East St. Louis, yeah. And you had chances to win, especially Wheaton Warrensville South.
Sure
you had
did.
a chance to beat them.
East St. Louis played awfully well against us. They made some shots from guys that normally don't do that and didn't do it afterwards. Yeah. But sometimes that happens with us.
And that's okay because you did learn from that. And this trip that's coming up is going to be huge for you.
Yeah,
in a
it is.
lot of different avenues, I guess you could say.
And you just want to have fun when you're playing basketball. Nothing better than having a good road trip with good food and family and friends and playing good basketball at a really nice gymnasium. The coach that had been there forever, the Burt is what they call it. They put a $6 million gym together, and it's just for basketball. And it's kind of fun. It's going to be really fun.
Well, Coach, good luck down in Mississippi.
Thank you.
You ready for Christmas?
Yeah, I got to get out there and buy a few presents. I'm running a little late.
Yeah, you got a little bit of time. A snowstorm kind of made it a little bit tougher for you, but
I got about 36 hours.
You got about 36 hours. Yeah, that's it. But good luck, Coach, and Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
Happy holidays, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Join us next week for another edition of The Danny Grieves Show.